Second, please. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Workers' Day roundtable discussion. This is powered by the Tech Masterclass. It's good to have each and every one of you here. And I would like to say Happy Workers' Day. You need to celebrate yourself as a worker. Wherever you are, you can just clap for yourself. It's great to be a worker, and it's good to have you here today. Today is Workers' Day. This day is celebrated all over the world. Well, maybe not all over the world. It's celebrated all over, but not necessarily this day. It's good to have each and every one of us here. I would like to welcome each and every one of you. Welcome, welcome. Ahmed, Fumi, Otitoju, wherever you're from, I'd like to welcome you warmly. It's my pleasure. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Bolaji Shote. My full name is Bolaji Shote, but you can call me Bolaji Shote. And today, this is something that has been burning in my heart. It's going to be a heart-to-heart discussion where we'll be having top-notch professionals, erudite speakers that have been chosen from different sectors, different aspects of the industry that I believe will give us a round view about the topic that we want to talk about today, which is the employment dilemma in Nigeria, Japa effect. I'm sure each and every one of us, if you're a Nigerian, even people that are not Nigerians, they would have
Is it me or we can't hear her?
Yes, I can't hear her too. Let me chat her up.
Hello.
Hello,
We
ma'am.
can hear you now.
Once again, good evening, everyone. I think I was, yes. These are some of the downside for the people that will say, do you know, I understand that people are literally leaving Nigeria because of, you know, things like, oh, no good internet connection, the roads are bad, nothing seems to be working. Like in other places where you do something you get the value for what you do. You are very sure that, I mean, when you do something, you get the value for your money. Unlike in Nigeria, where, look at right now, I mean, I was talking, this is, I have like 3 or 4 internet provider. And sometimes I ask myself, does this even make sense? Why can't we have just one internet provider that will work? And these things are real. When you speak to people and they tell you why they cannot take it any longer or they want to japa, you just say, you know what? I mean, I might not really understand where you are coming from, or maybe I understand where you are coming from, but you can't really blame them. These are the things that we'll be talking about today. Quickly, I'd like to introduce the speakers. Nobody is the least amongst them, but I will go with the ladies first. I have the one and only HR Madam. She's a musician. She's a woman of many parts. She's a musician. She's an artist. She's a human resources personnel. She's a consultant. She's the best at what she does. You know, you don't find people who are quite eclectic with creativity and talent that can do so many things at once. If there's that person, then HR Madam is that person. And I would like to warmly welcome her. She has a very amiable disposition, and I'm sure, you know, you will enjoy listening to her today. Secondly, I'd like to introduce Virtue Oboro. Virtue Oboro is the founder of Tiny Arts Technology. She has won quite a number of awards world over, all over the world. And, you know, she's into telling, sharing, opening up to people on how to get grants. She's passionate about what she does. And her story is quite an inspiring one. She stumbled into and techpreneur through a challenge, a problem that happened to her own child. And from there, she started solving problems all over the world, where she's saving lives, saving the lives of children from jaundice. And she's here today with us. I also have with me Mr. Oluyemi, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun to be. He's an HR manager. He's the head of HR for, 1 second, please. He's the head of HR for Eternal PLC, Eternal Oil PLC. And is an astute HR person, passionate about what he does, making great impact in the HR community. And it's great to have him here. Again, last person to be introduced, not the least, of course, is engineer Tunde Jimo, who is the managing director of Evans Gate Engineering. He's one person that is, I think is very passionate about Nigeria, and he is into an aspect where not too many people have the opportunity to be a part of. We don't have too many engineers around or who want to stay to add value or make an impact. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you. Thank you for being here this evening. My first question, without much ado, Japa is real. Japa is real. Every day you hear some stories, you are wondering, can this even be real? I've heard of stories where I'm asking myself, is this even normal anymore? Is there something wrong? What can be done about it? Japa is real. So the first question I'd like to ask, and I will throw it to HR Madam, is the drive for prosperity one of the causes of Japa among Nigerian youth, or is it more than that? And how does emigration affect the job market in the country of origin where people are living? This Japa, is it just a drive for prosperity that people want to, do better, get more, buy houses, drive good cars, and all of those things? Or is there something more than that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I always like to share my opinion with people, rub minds with people, and this opportunity affords me that. So the question is the Japa movement driven solely by economic reason? And I would say that maybe not, but it's one of the main reasons why people are leaving the country. We all know that, the reason why we work in the first place is for us to be able to have that economic power, to be able to not only cater to ourselves, but even to loved ones, so family members, immediate and extended, and things like that. So you want to be able to afford clothing. I mean, all of us know Maslow's hierarchy of needs and things like that. So the only way you can cater for these needs is when you have economic power. So putting food on your table, affording clothing for yourself. There is healthcare, and a host of other things. Even entertainment is part of it. One of the things I tell people, that I tell businesses when I consult for them is, this salary that you are offering for this position, do you, in actual fact, think that it will cater to all the needs that this person has? Are you telling me that out of this salary, they will take care of transportation, they'll take care of feeding, they'll take care of clothing, healthcare, and entertainment? We also forget the fact that people need to be entertained. So whether it's attending one social event or the other, they need to be able to afford that as well. So those are the things that contribute to what a person's needs are. And without the economic power to be able to afford that, it becomes a problem. And even without the economic power, it affects the economy at large, because money is not circulating in the economy. So it's like almost like a catch-22 situation where to have one, you must have the other, and the absence of one means the absence of the other. So they must coexist, that sort of thing. So yes, it is one of the things. However, like I said, it's not the only reason why people have jackpot. I mean, I've had people. One of my I don't want to give too much. Okay, well, I guess I can say this. One of my cousins that left is a governor's son. So money is not even the problem. For some people, and I'm not saying that this is the reason why he left, but for some people, it is even the absence of security in the country. For some people, it is just that feeling of uncertainty. We just recently concluded elections, and people don't know what really to expect, at this point. So I think that we might see reverse migration once things start to take shape and things start to take form. Once the new government is sworn in and there's a little bit of stability and there's improvement, even if it's minute, there's some form of improvement in the economy, we might begin to see reverse migration into the country. But just simply put, to answer your question, yes, economic power is one of the reasons why people are jackpotting, but I dare say that there are other reasons as well, like security and infrastructure. People want their children to go to good schools, have the right education at affordable rates. I mean, in Nigeria, for you to be able to give your children good education, you'll be coughing out a lot of money, and a lot of people can't afford that, whereas those things are readily and easily accessible for them when they migrate. And that's my response. Now I can't remember the part B of the question. Are you there?
You're mute now, woman.
Okay, I think I was muted because I was trying to speak, but I couldn't speak. Okay, so the other part of the question that I was asking is that how does this immigration affect the job market in the country of origin? What is the impact of that, this old Japa thing on Nigeria as a country, or in other places? Because it's not only Nigeria that people are emigrating. Yeah, but Nigeria seems to have just taken over the world stage with the Japa, slogan, which has gone viral.
No, I don't even think that Nigeria has taken over. Sorry for cutting. I don't even think, because if you look at the statistics of immigrants or immigrants, you will see that Asians, especially Indians, they migrate a lot as well. They are all over in Canada. They're all over in the UK. I mean, see, the current prime minister is of, Asian origin, that sort of thing. Yeah. So you do have other nationalities migrating as well. But I think that the reason why we think, it's a lot of Nigerians, because we are Nigerians, so it's close to home, and we have one friend or the other, or one family member or the other who has migrated. The other day I was telling someone that it's like, I don't even have friends in Nigeria anymore. What's going on? So that sort of thing. So back to your question in terms of how has it affected the job market in Nigeria? Of course, we know it has affected the job market. I don't know if we were all aware of one time when they were saying that the whole IT department of a particular bank, had migrated, from Nigeria abroad. So you can imagine, well, to my mind, I think that that's what contributed to the many series of disruptions that we saw in the fintech space. And I'm not limiting that to the small fintech companies. I'm even saying the traditional banks, where people couldn't log into their accounts. I mean, there was just always downtime or that sort of thing. I understand that there was a particular bank that now had to outsource their IT department to India or something like that, or to a foreign company anyways, to be able to do that. So of course it is, I mean, talent is scarce now in the job market. I mean, before now we were complaining about the fact that yes, there were people looking for jobs, but we were not getting the right candidates. Now we're even talking about the fact that plus right candidates, so plus terrible candidates, we can't even find anybody anymore. And I think that that is a call to action, because I believe that there are opportunities in every challenge that is presented to you. I think that it is an opportunity for us to upskill people and just look at innovative ideas or innovative ways of bringing people into the workplace and, pushing them ahead in their career. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So the next question will be for Engineer Tunde Jimo. Is he still with us? Yes, he's here. So I'd like to ask, lack of employment, economic inflation, and thank you very much, HR Madam. I like the fact that you spoke about the drive for prosperity is a major reason why people want to leave, but not just only that, the issue of feelings of uncertainty, lack of economic infrastructure, and, lack of security, and just a feeling, that particular one you spoke about, a feeling of uncertainty just make people say, if I don't know what next for me, please let me just go to a place where at least I can plan my life around something, has contributed to Japa. Thank you very much for that insight that you've provided. Now to Engineer Tunde Jimo. Lack of employment, economic inflation, and continued job losses in many private and public sectors has contributed to the Japa syndrome. What do you think is the way forward? And which jobs do you think are most affected by this emigration? You are in that space. So tell us the jobs that you think are mostly affected. Maybe we're just exaggerating it. It's just the Japa is for some certain jobs and not for some other jobs. Thank you.
You need to unmute. Engineer Tunde, you need to unmute, sir.
Yeah. Sorry, good
Thank
evening,
you.
everyone. So I was trying to talk about appreciating the last speaker about how she went generally overviewing everything about this Japa effect. I mean, if you want to analyze a situation or an issue log in our system, you have to go back to the foundation of the system. I mean, our professional courses, we all know that we have almost like 3 basic professional courses in the country. Professional, I mean, other areas they are all professionals, I'm not saying, but I mean, I just want to streamline it into like 3, which is medicine, engineering, and probably law. And if you look at our curriculum, even back in the university, into the foundation, if you look at how our curriculum is set up, it's really, really a problem. I mean, we need to go back in time to look at why you have to ask yourself the question, why is it that when people come out of school, they just want to leave the country? Now, I will streamline it to my own profession, which is engineering. Way back over 20 years when I graduated, I mean, we were only 42 in our class. And I can tell you today, the people practicing civil engineering in the field were not more than 6 that I know. Why? Because when you come out of school, when you come out of the university, there is this thing we normally say in every profession, that is when you come out of school, you start learning. It's when you come out of that university, when you graduate and you do your NYSC, you start learning. Now, then you have to go back as an intern to probably maybe a construction company. If you are lucky to have a mentor, you have someone mentoring you. And at that point in time, 99% of how you will fare in this profession is self-development, which means that you have to have that passion, you have to have that enthusiasm, you have to dig yourself into that profession to understand it properly. And what is the ripple effect? The ripple effect is that you're going to start from the beginning, and if you look at it, you may not be getting the actual salary that you expect from the beginning. So that's why you see a lot of engineers, they graduate, they don't want to practice, they will just go into the banking sector or go to another sector where they can actually get money to take care of themselves, and which I'm not blaming them for that, because it's not everybody that is lucky, or let me say fortunate, to have a mentor or to be fixed in the company that you can grow gradually as an engineer. So having said that, that's why you will see a lot of people, when they come out of school, they leave the country. Because if you leave the country and you go to another system, probably US, all this advanced country, probably you go and do your masters. I have colleagues, I have friends, I've traveled around the world, I have friends that when they came out of school, when they came out of their masters, I'm sure most of us, I mean, Bolaji and I mean, Madam HR too, they know about this. I mean, you come out of, you do your masters in the UK, probably like 10 or 15 years ago. You do your masters in the UK. After that, they give you another visa. Then you stay in that system. You work for about 5 to 6 years. Then you have everything. Imagine living in a country where they don't even take light. I mean, the infrastructure is set up. in a way that everything works. So the problem we have in our country is that the first is the foundation of the professionals. The professionals are not really treated right. I mean, when you come out of school, you have to start from the scratch. You have to start looking around and see how you're going to grow in that profession. And secondly, I think, Bolaji, you need to remind me the second question, please. Bolaji, can you go over the second question so that I can answer that?
Yes, so the second question is, what is the way forward? Is there a way forward? It's not just the private, even the public sector is affected. Job losses, and we also have continued job losses in many private and public sector. Despite all of these things that you talked about, what is the way forward? Are we just going to fold our hands and say, oh, all the engineers are leaving, oh, all the lawyers are leaving, all of those people are leaving? You know, we've identified majority of those people that are leaving, all our tech people are leaving. What is the way forward? Is there hope? Can we get out of this?
Yes, I think fundamentally there is hope. Of course, you cannot say there is no hope, but there is a lot to be done. I mean, even in the system, there's a lot to be done. I mean, if you're a graduate and you cannot meet your basic needs, of course you will look for another avenue to meet your basic needs. So I believe that even the HR system, I mean, you are employing an engineer because, for example, in our own system, you're employing an engineer, you're paying him 100,000. How do you want that person to take care of the basic needs? So there should be a cap, there should be a standard whereby at least if you are putting somebody onto a job, you have to make sure the basic needs of that person is met. I mean, there should be standards for people to be engaged on their jobs. I mean, and there should be avenue for training, because if most of these companies abroad, because I'm a consultant to some of these companies abroad. Most of them, when you go to their offices, I mean, when you travel and you go to their offices and you see them and you meet them, you meet people that have been working in that company for 20 years, 15 years, 25 years, 30 years. What are the things that makes those people that are working there to stay there for that number of years? They have insurance, their welfare is well taken care of. You know, if they die today, maybe at the end of the day, if they have any disability, they are well taken care of. All these things are a full package that will make somebody to be comfortable that, okay, if I'm in this system, I know that, okay, I'm fine. But you employ a graduate, you put the graduate there, and there's no tomorrow, you just feel like sacking the person, you sack the person. There's no incentive, there's nothing, there's no payoff, there's nothing, you know. That's a fundamental area where I believe the HR people should look at to make sure that when they are consulting for companies, they will make sure that the package they are giving the people that are coming in as employees are well packaged, so that those people, they can be comfortable staying in that system and they can put their best into that system. For example, if you have a staff and the welfare is well taken care of, I know the HR people, they know about KPI, the key performance index. The key performance index of that person will skyrocket if the welfare and the basic needs of that person is taken care of. But imagine, and there's another aspect I would like to talk about, which is the lean management system, which is, I mean, when you have, for example, we practice it a lot. When you have a site, maybe you're working on a site, you make sure that everything, I mean, the accommodation of the workers is close to the site. I mean, where they eat is close to the sites, you know, so that they can, everything, the management is kind of lean, so that when they leave their house, they walk to the site, they finish their work, they eat, everything is around them. But imagine you are living in K2 and you are working in VI. Half of the day you're on the road. I mean, you're going to work, coming back, you cannot even, your mental health is already derailed. I mean, so the HR people, when they are also consulting for companies, they should also apply the lean management system, because it helps the mental health of the workers. Because when you put a worker close to where he's working, and it's just like a stone throw from where he's working, and the welfare is well taken care of, the person, I mean, there's a saying that when you keep someone happy, you can never underestimate the performance of that person, you know. So these are the things we really need to look at to make sure that we curb all this effect of Japa. Because I don't blame anybody for leaving the country. I mean, because even our system, I mean, there's no we should always, like, I'm a progressive person, and I believe that our system can get better. But each of us individually, we have to play our part. We have to make sure that we do what is required to help people to make ends meet. So in a nutshell, yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, that was quite mind-blowing coming from an engineer. You spoke about standards to employment. I'm sure if Dr. Oluyemi is going to, I'm going to talk, the next question I'm going to ask is going to be to him, where he will talk about what can we do to address all of these issues that you've raised. So you spoke about giving people opportunities, training incentive, having standards to employment. In a country where a bag of rice is about 50,000 or more, depending on which brand that you want. If you want the soggy ones or the ones that, I mean, you enjoy eating, whether it's rice or tuwo, and then bringing it back to what is the minimum wage. The minimum wage, legal minimum wage that government has put to say this is the least amount that people must earn in the country, I don't think is more than 30,000. So what is the hope for the people who earn 30,000? What can they do with that money? And those are some of the questions that we need to start asking ourselves. You talked about lack of pay and a comfortable welfare environment, that even so that when workers are leaving, they have a fallback, which is what people do in other countries, where there are laws that when you let people go on the job, they have a cushion effect where they can have a short while to gather themselves before they move on. Thank you very much for that insight. Now, my next question is to Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun. Recruiters are finding it difficult to fill roles, while companies are finding it hard to retain employees. What is the way forward? What can we do? And are there any positive effects of immigration on the job market in both the country of origin and the country where they are going to? Is there any positive impact of this Japa effect when people are leaving? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, co-panelists, esteemed members. Thank you for sharing your evening with us tonight and the opportunity to impact and share knowledge around this very important subject matter. I'll quickly say that, to be very honest, the concept of migration, emigration, Japa has been forever. Again, depending on your religious affiliations, but let me just reference, for example, the Bible in an academic context right now. You will even see that the father of faith, Abraham, across multiple faiths, left his father's house and went somewhere. In other words, historically, it had always been part of humanity to move from one point to the other. Again, going back to elementary science, you will hear that perhaps the whole of humanity started from Africa, maybe somewhere around Egypt, and then began to move closer to different regions and axes of the world. This has always been the cyclical nature of human beings. Yes, the reason for the movement differ. Some people move due to war, some people move due to economic challenges, economic opportunities. It could be pull factors, it could be push factors. Having said this, the truth is certain economists have identified the fact that human capital perhaps is the most important type of capital you may need, because it is human capital that manipulates all the other type of capitals and then turn it to productive output. I would like to say that there are two possible outcomes. There are the positives of Japa and the negatives of Japa, both in the country that is releasing their resources, human resources to the other country, and the country that is the recipient of these human resources. Now, one of the greatest countries, so to speak, today is the United States of America. And for a long time, they've been having these concepts. They might have changed it from time to time, have different nomenclature for it, but this visa lottery concept, which is almost an indirect subtle way of saying, let the best or the most enterprising, the most adventurous, the most energetic from different parts of the world come to US so that their intellect, their wisdom, their enterprising nature can be what? Can be harnessed and put to use. Again, one thing is common, that most people who move tend to be energetic. They tend to, let me use our street language today, they tend to hustle more. Now, let me come back home. Many of us too in Lagos today, we jackpot from Iloke to Lagos, for those that are Yoruba. Some jackpot from the east to Lagos, some from the north to Lagos. So there's some form of some even jackpot from Ibadan to Lagos. In other words, it is a fundamental human right to move in any geographic location that will enhance, leverage, capitalize our innate competencies and our acquired competence, skills, and capabilities. I'm saying this so that nobody should feel guilty for moving. The person criticizing you also move from somewhere to somewhere and will probably move tomorrow. So the countries that receive these people get a little more diversified. Take a country too like Canada. They have programs, highly skilled migrant program from all over the world, and they bring the cream de la cream. Sometimes there's a term we call it in economics, brain drain. In other words, harvest the best brains, the youthful brains, bring them to your own community, your own society, lure them with technology, lure them with infrastructure, lure them with prospects, retain them, and then help them to grow. Another thing that is probably also leading to this Japa is the fact that developed economies like UK, US, Europe are having what we call an aged population. In other words, they are not giving birth to as many children as they will have wanted in retrospect. So you have families now will have 1 kid, 2 kids, no kid. And in Canada, for example, and some other places in Europe, you now have many people that are like 40, 50, 60. You need younger people to be working so that the pension of the people up can be paid. So it's a strategy. It's not just completely altruistic, okay? They are also using it to service their economy. Now, coming back to a place like Nigeria or any other country that may be, so to speak, losing talent, there are also advantages. There are people in Nigeria, for example, in Lagos, in the organization, they've gotten to some peak of some sort, but it's not peak in the sense that, let me use a better word, a plateau. A plateau means you have gotten to a kind of summit and it looks like you can't go any further. It may be because of the pyramid nature of most organizations and some other factors. If you have gotten to the peak and you think you are maybe still 36, you need to reinvent yourself. A new society, a new economy may provide you that launching pad to invent yourself. Now, let me quickly add there that when most of these people started to Japa, I want to mention some random benefits. A lot of people got promoted. They would not have gotten that opportunity if their line manager did not Japa. Many people today have bought cars, household equipment from people who are jackpotting and needed to what? And needed to what? Offload quickly. So many people today who were previously not in the succession plan of the organization, when Japa began to be of more concern, more organizations started to focus more aggressively, increasingly, on things like succession planning, training and development, because you didn't know who was going to leave next. So they needed to widen the net of their succession plan so that they can retain. Let me also say, for certain industries or sectors, take the IT sector or subsector, most of them, or quite a number of them, have gotten salary increments in many organizations that I know. This is a public forum, but this year, a bank still doubled the salary of all the IT staff.
Wow, that's interesting. That means exactly. I'll go and join IT.
Exactly. You know, not too long ago, so we noticed that, again, I won't mention it, but we can infer, certain banks started having issues with transfer. It's Japa that causes it, because you know, if you have 50 in a department and maybe almost 25 live so close to each other, it's going to have impact on your processes and flows. Of course, HR and the organizations have started to intensify knowledge management system out, but sometimes when people leave, they also leave with some of their creativity, some of their dexterity. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. That was absolutely amazing. Coming from Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun. You spoke about, things that really taught me. So Japa is not totally a death sentence, and people should look at it this way. Maybe the reverse should be, because when you mentioned that for the host country, the likes of the Canada, the US, the UK, where people are going to, they are using it to diversify the economy, improve themselves. They know that those people who Japa will say, oh, you know what, I've been given an opportunity, let me come and also. And I particularly like the fact that you spoke about, even in Lagos, every day the traffic in Lagos is increasing. People Japa from the village to Lagos. When I was growing up, when you say you live in Lagos like this, is almost as if you live in heaven. Hey, and then when you see the Lagos, you start asking yourself, is this the Lagos? So you can imagine what's going on in the minds of a lot of people. And then you spoke about for the countries that are losing their workers to brain drain, putting infrastructure, helping people to grow. And I like the fact that you said that this Japa thing is not a new development. There were people, I have people that I know whose parents Japa in those days, in the 50s, in the 60s, maybe not Japa, but they went abroad, went to school, went to work and all of that. Those people are back today. We know the story of India and China and how they grew their economy. It is still almost the same model. There are people who went, took all the knowledge and all the experiences. They are back in India now, back in China and doing great things. Hopefully, Nigeria will be able to leverage on that. I'm quickly going to move on. I think Virtue is here, and I want her to talk about this aspect. Unethical workplaces, environmental factors, toxic workplaces are major reason for brain drain in Nigeria. Employers are finding it hard to retain employees, and then recruiters are finding it hard to fill roles. HR madam, I'm sure and same thing with me as well. You find roles in companies that are open and opened and open. Some of those roles have been open like forever and nobody is filling them up. And it's getting, like somebody is saying, the pressure is getting worse and worse. It's really getting more terrible by the day. What is the way out? Over to you, Virtue. HR Madam, I think I'm going to throw that question to you. I think you can answer it because I thought Virtue was here, but I think it's a question that you can answer.
Thank you. Please, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so I said recruiters are finding it difficult to fill roles, while companies are finding it hard to retain employees. And some of the challenges are unethical workplace practices, environmental factors, toxic workplaces. Is there a way out? And if there is, can you tell us what can be done?
The only, let me speak to the toxic workplace behaviors that impair getting the right talent or retaining the right talent. I mean, this conversation, I guess, is one that we're going to continue to have so long as you have people congregating in a place and calling it the workplace. Somebody was saying today at a meeting that I attended where I moderated a panel that they had helped an intern that worked with them for a year to get a job with an HR consulting firm. And after 6 months, the intern came to them and said they were leaving the job. And they were like, but you're only just starting out in your career. Why would you want to leave a place after 6 months? And the person said, well, I mean, things were going fine until my boss brought their wife on board. And their wife, is a bit, she shouts at people, she's temperamental, she doesn't respect individuals. She lacks emotional intelligence, and that sort of thing. So the person repeated the same thing and said, but you're just starting out in your career. If you leave this place, what is the guarantee that you will not go somewhere else and meet the same thing? And I think that is a bit wrong. What I find in a lot of instances is that we tell people to adjust to negative workplace behaviors while we don't seek to correct the people who are exhibiting these behaviors and causing problems for everybody. But I'll come to that later. And, they said something that this young chap said, and I loved the response. The guy said, I have an auntie at home who is exactly like my boss's wife, shouts at me, doesn't respect me, treats me poorly, and all of that. I cannot have that at home and also have that in the workplace. And I said, I love that person. I'm sure they're Gen Z, and that is a self-aware Gen Z. At some point, all these things will impact your mental health. They will impact your general well-being. A lot of us are carrying stress all over the place, and we don't even know that sometimes it's because of the way somebody treats us that we're like that. The other day, somebody was saying to me that I have trust issues. I said, no, I don't have trust issues. In fact, my default setting is to trust you. So when I meet you for the first time, I'm very open to you. I'm very warm. I'm very friendly until you show me, until you deal me bad hand. So what I said to them was, I actually think I'm suffering trauma because I've had my own share of being traumatized by different people and different situations. So back to the conversation of the workplace. I like it when organizations identify that, wait, listen, we have a toxic workplace culture here, but what we must do is to seek to improve what we have here. And instead of telling people, suck it up, you just have to accommodate the person. How about you look for ways, because that is a developmental gap for the person that is exhibiting the workplace behavior. They lack the right attitude to work. They lack the right attitude to other team members. They are the ones that really, in actual fact, need help. They are the ones that, in actual fact, need to be sent, whether on a course or be given a mentor or be assigned a coach who will guide them, in overcoming the challenge of just being toxic to everybody they come across. So I think that if you want to have a happy workforce and a productive workforce, you better stamp out negative workplace behaviors, which constitute things like bullying, harassment, and the likes. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you so much. That was so amazing. I like the fact that you spoke about something, and I think that is the part that most people do not want to accept, to say, you know what, we have a challenge here. It's not only about having the challenge. I have worked in organizations where they even know that their workplace is toxic, but they're not ready to do anything about it. And that's the real question we must ask ourselves. And then you have those ones who, whether unconsciously or consciously, have accepted people who are like their top management staff or their star performer to say, you know what, is delivering the mandates. I mean, the person is delivering the mandate. So because the person is delivering on the mandate, or because the person is in a very strategic position, even though the person has behaviors that are not acceptable to most of their team members, there's a gap somewhere. Nobody's saying anything about it. It becomes the elephant in the room. And I like the fact that you spoke about in being productive and building a happy place. It must be a deliberate effort to address this. And I'm going to just throw this. Thank you very much, HR Madam, for that. So the next question will be for Engineer Tunde Jimo. So training is a way for employers to build capacity, especially considering sudden exit due to Japa effect. How can employers ensure business continuity using training? A lot of employers are right now that they even know that there's a gap, there's an issue. Go and find out the training budget. In fact, most organizations do not even have training budget for a party. They'll say, go for LinkedIn training, go and learn online. But yet, people are jackpotting. What is the way forward? How can these things be addressed? Thank you.
Okay. Well, that training is in my own. Let me just talk about from my own point of view. Training is two ways, right? You can actually have a company and probably an organization or maybe a private firm, and you decide to develop your team. And most times, you know, that's why I think in Nigeria, a lot of organizations, because it's hardly you find in Nigeria people working for like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years for the same organization. It's always hard to find. People move a lot around. So most of these organizations, they tend to be laid back, training their staffs, because they believe that once you are trained, you move to another company. If you are working in MTN and you are trained in MTN, you move to Glo or something. But the issue is that people don't really understand that if you are trained and you are in a company and a company trained you and you had more value to that company, the more you are in that company, the more expensive you are. For example, I have an opportunity. I worked in Dangote at a particular point in time, and when I was there, I was really, really trained. And because I was trained and I was in that system, I was able to grow in that system to a level whereby, in fact, the other companies that were coming after me, pricing me, I was just putting them down because I was in that system to add value back to that system. So the point is, if there's a training for staffs, it helps them to kind of know their bit more, and it keeps them to be more effective. So it's always good for companies to train their workers. The more you train your workers, the more developed your company will be. And most especially, like this toxic environment you people are talking, you were just addressing previously. I just wanted to add one or two things to it. The toxic environment could be cushioned out if there's a good welfare. I mean, I keep saying that if people are happy working, if you wake up in the morning and you be like, oh, I just want to be in the office today, You know, there are so many little incentives you can have for your workers. Even if you have 1 or 2 toxic people in that system, they can still manage through, because in engineering, the more you practice, the more expensive you are. So there are times that you can just take that stuff because of, you can take that toxicity and manage it because of the kind of environment you are working in, you know. So I think have I answered your question, or do you want me to talk more on
I think we're good to go. The only thing that I want to a bit disagree with you is the level of toxicity. There's no perfect workplace. I think that's where I'm gonna start from. There's no perfect workplace, and I'm one person that I can say that from experience, from working in different organizations, different countries, and just looking at different people, different nationalities. People are people everywhere. Like my mentor will say, there are only 2 types of people in the world, good and the bad. Unfortunately, I think there are more bad people than good people, and that's why you see all of those things. But when it comes to toxicity, on what are those things that are causing those things? But thank you for providing insight. I will support people to stick on and stay in toxic workplaces. If the organization is not willing to do anything about it, then I think people might just have to look for other places where they can, be their best. But be that as it may, I like the fact where you said the more you train your workers, the more they get better at what they're doing. And a lot of companies do not want to train their workers. They believe, oh, if I train the person will go away with it. But what if you don't train them? So you have a bunch of untrained people working for you, messing up your work for you, that would have saved you all the hassles. I had a boss who used to say this, and I quote, he would say, okay, so if I bring in someone and I train the person, even if the person does not stay for so long, if the person is well trained to do what they want to do at that period, then, it's not how long, but it's how well, it's what value they can bring on board. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to quickly move on to Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun. There is Japa. There is Japa, no doubt. There is Japa. In fact, there is Japa to Japa. It was when I worked somewhere and I realized that there is Japa to Japa. People have Japa to a country, and then they will Japa from that country to another country. That's not their real destination. Maybe they want to go to Canada, or they want to go to the US. They will first go to Kazakhstan, or they will first go to Spain, or go through the Sahara Desert and land in Morocco. And then from there, go to Spain. Then from Spain, they will walk a bit and then Japa to another place. But that's not even the bone of contention. But there are employees who did not Japa. They are here in Nigeria, but they would rather be either self-employed or work remotely than work for a Nigerian employer due to quote and unquote terms of employment. How do we curb this? Is there a way forward? Does the employer have to shift? Or what can be done? Because there are a lot of people, again, are not ready to Japa. People like Nigeria. People, let's face the fact, even as crazy as things might get, as all of that, election is over now, you see that things are getting balanced, and Nigerians are naturally resilient people. And I see even a lot of people that are Japa, they will tell you that I want to come back home. I want to come back home, not 1, not 2. But when they come back home, are they looking for working for Nigerian employer? I have a friend who said, there is nothing that can make me work for a Nigerian company. Even if I come back to Nigeria, she has jackpot, but she said, even if I come back to Nigeria, I'm going to be right here in Nigeria and not work for a Nigerian company. What is the way forward? Can this be curbed? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Permit me to say that I will not want to unilaterally say that this is a challenge in itself. And what do I mean? That a professional has decided to be freelance or decided to be a gig worker, or has decided to work for multiple organizations across multiple nations may not necessarily be a challenge, although I am aware that there may be challenges associated with this. First and foremost, some employees want to have full control of their time. That way, if they sign a full-time employee agreement with an organization, they may not be able to focus on multiple hustles. Some people are wired like that. They get bored easily. Of course, beyond that exposure, diverse career exposure to projects across multiple geographies, what we call them boundaryless workers. Another thing is, if you are working, for example, from Nigeria for a US firm, and you are able to earn in dollars or in pounds or in euro, you know what that does for you. But one thing I've noticed is that to some extent, some of these, our colleagues who are working for foreign companies in foreign countries are actually in reality being short paid, because what they will pay you per hour, if you are based and resident in Nigeria, will be way lower than what they will have been paying you per hour if you are based and resident, for example, in US. So to some extent, it's also a type of cheap labor. But because of the devalued nature of our Naira, dollars suddenly makes sense. But again, it doesn't mean you are not being underpaid or short paid. Now, there are also now, speaking from the individual's perspective, when you are a gig worker, one of the things that will happen to you is that you won't have pensions. You may even find it sometimes difficult to be remitting taxes because you are earning left, right, and center. Some of them are even so dynamic that they even say, pay me in cryptocurrency. So they are not even any Naira or dollar, so that they can move their assets across the guys to employers in this context is when you see somebody with a CV and it almost shows that this person is like an independent consultant or individual consultants like that. Don't try and hire them and make them your full-time employee. Organizations too today need to know that we need to have more options with respect to the type of employees we have. So full-time employees, contract employees, then you now also need to have, we can call it any name. They can be part-time employees or gig employees. Employees probably work for us maybe 1 day in a week, 4 hours, 3 times in a week, and you must have a classification for that. The reason is that you may need their skill sets, and you may not also even need their skill set every day, all week long. Once you are fixated and rigid that no, if you are rendering service for us, you must be our permanent staff, you will lose on those types. I understand why sometimes organizations want to have almost all type of employee as full-time employees is because they want them to be at their beck and call. So that, but that also shows sometimes the lack of planlessness on some of our parts. Engage them. What will happen even for the organization is that when you pay people per hour like that, they are more productive. There's no time to move around. You eliminate certain costs. You are also not paying things like pension. You are probably not doing things like NSITF over this kind of people, ITF, or some of this overhead, because in your books, they are more or less like consultants. So they are paying maybe we told the tax. So I want organizations to realize that our cheese has moved. That's the title of a book.
The
anyway.
cheese has moved.
The cheese
Who moved my cheese?
Yes, the cheese has moved. There's no point crying over spilled milk. We now also need to rejig our framework to accommodate all the types of workers that may have all the type of skill sets that we require to solve our organizational problem. That will be my 2 cents. Thank you.
Wow. Like somebody will say, this is so, as in you just blew my mind with all of these things that you spoke about. It is high time for organizations to know that, I mean, the things have changed. The cheese has moved and things are not the same like before. The traditional workplace where all you want to have is all your workers at your beck and call has moved. There are people who don't want to work for other people full time, or people who want to do 3 or 4 things together. Why can't they do it? If they have the capacity to do it, or they have the bandwidth to do those things. And that's where the future of the workplace is going. I like the part that you talked about lack of planning is why most employers are not leveraging on this type of employer. I particularly like the fact that you said they may need or may not need that skill set. Again, I like referring to my mentor. My mentor told me that they have this particular employee that does something for them, just something in the organization, maybe manages their social media production and all of that, all these graphic designer. Maybe the graphic designer does not need to be a full-time employee. And he's going to pay both the employer and the employee because the person can do more than one organization is putting the person. Imagine the level of productivity that will happen if, organizations are beginning to think this way. Thank you so much, Doctor, especially for talking about eliminating costs and overheads, not paying pension and all of those things, because of course you treat them like a consultant and they do their thing and move on. And that's where some of us are really looking at to say, you know what, we can do a lot more than just staying with one employer. HR Madam, this question is for you. And we are gradually coming to the end of the session. We'll take some questions and then we can move on. In the past, I'm sure she's there. HR Madam, are you there?
I'm right here.
Yes, this question is for you. In the past, employment was only seen from the side of the employer. In recent times, it seems to have switched to the employees. Before, employees cannot talk. When it's whatever employer gives them to say, oh, we've given you letter, these are our terms, everybody just go. Whether it's convenient for the employees or it's not convenient for the employees move ahead and just collect the offer, oh, I'm looking for a job. But in recent times, post-COVID and all of those things, this has changed. How can both parties come to an agreement to reduce the Japa effect, knowing fully well that the employer does not have that, I don't know what to call it anymore. There are roles that are there that are not being filled, So it's no longer the employer's call anymore. The cheese has moved. Knowing fully well that the cheese has moved, what can the employers begin to do to attract talent? And again, let me say this, I believe that there are people who are out there. We just saw someone in our chat box who put it there. I mean, that is person as jackpot from what I see. And the person says, you know what, I want to come back home. These kind of people will be looking out for employers that are futuristic in their thinking, in how they do things. What is the way forward? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I can see you and we can hear you.
Awesome. So I don't think that the employers do not have a say anymore. And you are right. More than ever before, employees now have a say. So it's not just about the employers, but I don't think that the employers don't have a say anymore. I think that we have come to the era of co-creating stuff. So because also without the employer, you can have a say only because there is a job for you to go to. So there is still a place for the employer, and they still, to a large extent, command and drive the relationship. Now, like I said, we have just come to the era of co-creating value of co-creating wealth. So the employer knows that I need the employees to be on my side. And the employees know that I also need the employer to be on my side for me to be able to earn a living, to be able to earn a wage. Not everybody is going to freelance, that's the truth. Not everybody is going to become an entrepreneur. Not everybody is going to start a business. Some people are still going to have to work for people and with people. So we better shift our mindset from, oh, this person needs me, I'm now the one that commands, I'm now the one that steers the conversation in whatever direction. No, it doesn't work that way. Like I said, we just have to get to a point where we see ourselves as co-creators, and so we work in a collaborative manner. At the end of the day, as an employee, I look out for the good of my organization, knowing fully well that if we all work productively, it's going to impact the bottom line. And if the bottom line is good, I mean, I get paid on time, as and when due. I get a bonus perhaps, and I hope that, there is bonus for people who are meeting their targets, and things like that. And, life is just good for everybody. So I think we should shift our mindset from, okay, so now is our time as employees, and so we command and we demand. No, it's not about demanding, it's about co-creating and collaborating and things like that. So that would be the take from me, really. And even on the part of the employers, they need to see their employees as co-creators of value, of wealth, and everything good. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. In the next 5 minutes, giving 2 minutes each to each of the speakers, I would like them also to talk about, I would like to ask, the next person I'm going to ask question is Engineer Tunde Jimoh. But before I do that, I want to emphasize on what you have said. You have really, really reset you reset the tone of what is out there, that the employee is now king. No, I like the word that you use, co-creator, a mindset shift from both the employer and the employees. Everybody needs themselves, so nobody can do it alone. And we all have to work for the good of the organization we find ourselves. You said something that not everybody can be an entrepreneur, and it is not a crime. It is not a sin. Don't let anybody make you feel bad and say, oh, if you don't own a business, if you don't, running a business is, for those people who run businesses, is different from, it's not what we all think it is for people that have ventured into any sort of business, much more than any other thing. So is the mindset shift. It is not a time to command or to say, you know what, it's for everybody to collaborate, come to the table. Let's be able to make allowances, tolerate ourselves. It's like a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend kind of relationship to say, okay, you know what, this is what you want. Oh, this is what I can afford to give you. If you do X, Y, Z, I will give you X, Y, Z. And when that person does that, please make good your word so that you don't become those people who don't make good their words. And by doing that, you'll be able to go forward and move forward quickly. So to Engineer Tunde Jimoh, in 2 minutes, how can the country of origin ensure that immigrants are able to make a successful transition into the job market of the country they're emigrating to? So we even have people that have jackpot, but they are not, the story is not as what they think it is. What can they quickly do there? It's not, there's no El Dorado anywhere. No El Dorado anywhere. My mentor would say there is no place that I know anywhere in the world where you find people picking money. There is no way. So what can these people do? We have a lot of our professionals. Some of them are there. They're not gainfully employed. They're not doing anything. And this thing can affect them. What would you say to those kind of people?
Yeah, very, very well said. First of all, before you can immigrate to another country, probably an advanced country, let me just put it the right way. You must be like a middle class in Nigeria. At least you must be an average person. I mean, having a good salary, having some kind of very good savings. Even if you try to immigrate, when you're applying, they will ask for your assets. They will ask some, like Canada will ask you if you are going with your family, you must have like $30,000 in your account. Other countries like that. So people that are moving, don't forget, they are either in the middle class or more than the average. Now, there are some people that you can kind of label them as people that do desperate journeys. These are people that they just take visiting visa. Even though you're a professional here in Nigeria, you take visiting visa, you go into the UK and you try to struggle, and you don't have good papers. And let me say it here, right? That there are countries, these countries that are advanced countries, UK, US, Canada. Let me just pick Canada as an example. They have processes. So it's not that you just take off from Nigeria because you have 20 years of experience in engineering or in IT, and you just land in Canada and you think you get a good job. Let me give you a very perfect example. If you get to Canada today, for example, you cannot do anything if you don't have the right papers. Even if you have the right papers, let's say you have a work permit or you're a permanent resident, the first thing you have to do is to go and get like your NIN, like your social insurance number. Without that social insurance number, you cannot do anything. You cannot have a phone. You cannot open an account. You cannot even rent a house.
Tell me about it.
I'm telling you, you can't do anything.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
So basically, if you don't have the right papers to go into a country, when you get there, you will just find yourself in a miserable way. So most people that are leaving the country, that are really, really leaving, I mean, professionals that have this mindset of leaving, they normally plan ahead of time, 2-3 years ahead of time, save enough money. There is hardly any professional that leaves the country that has not been planning like 3 years earlier. Probably when the new government came and they were just messing everything around, they'll be like, guy, I can actually move to US with this my status. I'm this, I'm that. First, they will go through, do the WES, do TOEFL or IELTS, get all their papers complete, legit move to the country. And when they get to that country, they are welcomed. They are put in positions. That's why if you look at the differences in the people that go by desperate journey and the people that move legitimately to immigrate to another country, the ones that move legitimately to immigrate to another country, they don't want to come back. Because what would they come and do back home? That's the truth. I mean, they don't want to come back because at the end of the day, they have that legitimacy to live in that country, and everything they want is there. You live in a country where they don't take light, the roads are good, you can buy a car for the next 25 years, you can buy a house for the next 30 years, fine and good. It's not like Nigeria where you just carry your cash and go and buy a car. But the quality of life, I mean, it's not that I'm saying that Japa is the best thing, but I'm just trying to buttress the fact that if you travel out, if you travel out there, there's good life there. Don't let us bastardize Japa this thing. Yeah, there's good life there. The point is that we have to look in our internal system. As a person running a construction company, it's kind of a kind of difficult for us also in Nigeria, because in fact, if you travel to Canada, you travel to US, you're a permanent resident there, you open a company, the banks in that country will give you assistance. They will give, because you can't go anywhere. You have the social insurance number. Where do you want to run to? You can't go anywhere. So you can't run. So they can support you with so much money for you to establish yourself. But Nigeria, go to any bank and say you have a contract of 100 million, you need them to borrow. It's a very long, they will even frustrate you. So even small b, we need to look internally into our system, wherever we find ourselves individually. What can we do to add value, to make sure that we help this system? The little, because we keep blaming the government. I mean, all of us individually, we need to do our own part. We need to put in whatever we can do to make the system better. Wherever you find yourself, in any position, as an HR consultant, as an engineer, just try and do whatever you can do, because
absolutely,
the country, my sister, I'm very, very practical. I'm a very practical person. I'm an engineer. Okay, fine. I have
thank
been
you very much, Dr.
Let me just round up. Let me
Engineer
round up.
Tule.
Let me round up. Let me just
Okay.
round up. Let me round up, please. I'm an engineer, and if I want to employ somebody, if it's not adding value to my, it's not about your certification. If you are not adding value to my company, or you don't have the right experience, I'll throw you out. You know? Thank you very much.
Thank you. But before you throw the person out, engineer, please make sure that you try to give the person training and development, so that at least you've done your bit in improving somebody else. This is all our problem. It is all something we should all work together for. Honestly, I just knew that this conversation was going to be something that was going to be, very interesting and very thought-provoking and mind-blowing. We can't even finish it today. But I mean, we started the conversation on the journey towards, I don't know, Japa. That's what I want. Yeah, you wanted to say something.
So just 1 second. I mean, I expect it to, like you said, roundtable discussions. I mean, we are supposed to actually juggle the experiences together, but fine. I mean, the way it went was very perfect, but I was expecting a juggling, a kind of back-to-back discussion with all of us, but it's fine. I mean, it's a very, very good thing. I really appreciate, especially the speakers, and thank you very much for bringing me on board. I'm grateful.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to have you. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions. It's been really amazing. So now to Doctor, which will be the final question and all that. Okay, if you can give us examples, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun, examples of countries that have successfully managed the employment dilemma caused by immigration that Nigeria can maybe look at and then say, these people have experienced Japa, or brain drain at some point in time, and they've leveraged it on to themselves. And how can businesses in the country of origin adapt to the loss of talent caused by immigration? Quickly, Doctor, so that we can take questions and
let me just say this, that there are certain fundamentals. Whether we are talking about Japa or no Japa, we should get it right. Our labor law is archaic, it's not fit for purpose. We should be determined to quickly revamp. I couldn't
help but laugh when you said our labor laws are archaic. Honestly, it's the sad truth.
And that's the fundamental.
If you ask the people that are working now, they will, the entrepreneurs like Engineer Jimo and the rest of them out there, they will tell you, you know what are you HR people doing about it? But is it HR that will change the laws?
We are all engaging with the legislator and the Senate. We need to work around that. Then also the judiciary too, if possible, to be able to improve the turnaround time for adjudication of cases. Because when we talk about things like rule of law, this is how it affects the entire fabrics of the country. So that if any staff feels aggrieved, or any employer, it can be both ways, feels aggrieved by an employee, you get quick justice. There is an enabling documentation labor law for that. There is enabling adjudication process. All these things we now know dive to things like minimum wage that is a living wage. I'll say that again. Minimum wage that is a living wage. Okay, so that, like Engineer Jimo said, people are paid commensurate for the competence, expertise they are bringing to the table. We have to get that, because if someone wants to come back to what? We also need to fix our infrastructure at the minimum. Basic electricity, roads, our policing must be better, so that you are not driving and a drunken policeman shoots you and kills you. So everything that makes for a functional working society, Nigeria needs to put it back on track. Lastly, but not the least, take a cue from countries like India, okay, like Sri Lanka. They were very deliberate with the export of their talent. In fact, all their embassies, okay, they have like something close to this Nigerian Diaspora Commission, but in their own, so they call it something like overseas work and something. I can't remember the nomenclature now. They are actively, they promote their citizens to go abroad to work so that they can brand emolument. They know that by the time you take what do you call it, oil and some other things, one of our highest earnings income as a nation is remittances. Okay, so we look at that remittances and we help people to say, look, when you go abroad, we are not saying you shouldn't go. Help them to go. Let them know that they should send part of their money home, not just for consumption, but also investment, infrastructure, the capital market.
It's not like the one that we hear on social media in Nigeria that somebody will send people to build houses for them. And by the time they come back, they will not see, they will see only sand. It's quite unfortunate when we hear of those things.
Very, very, very. Okay, so I think it's the holistic action in one day. Okay, because good governance has a lot to play. And when I say good governance, at all levels, from federal, state, and local government, not just one super power or super individual somewhere, across all boards, across all states, across all local governments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an amazing view and solution that you've provided. And I do hope that whoever will come across this video would appreciate all of these things that we've been able to put right at the table. Speaking about countries, I wanted to add the Philippines, the Filipinos. Even in the UAE at the time, you see that Filipinos are giving one, because they already have like an arrangement between the UAE government and the Philippines government for their people to come into the place, work, gain experience. After a while, they go back home. They already know that they are there. I met people while I was there who will say, you know what, I'm just here to work for about 5 years, make money. The money, I think, that they get, the dirhams that they get and take back to their country is a lot. It's a lot for them by the time they're sending it back home. So maybe another area that Nigeria may have to look at, I mean, for the economies, this old Naira exchange thing and all of that too might need to be addressed so that, I mean, people get good value for their money and all of that. I mean, what you spoke about, to be active. Last year, Nigeria, even till now, Nigeria faced a lot in terms of policies in the UAE, and people kept asking, does Nigeria even have an embassy there? And you see people crying out on social media saying, why are they treating Nigerians like this? Why is the government not doing anything about it? Maybe the truth is that they are doing something about it, but people cannot just really see it, and they need to communicate more, So we all hands have to be on deck to be able to address this. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful and insightful evening. I have some questions here. Somebody said this: why is there so much politics in Nigerian companies? It is becoming endemic. The country is bad. We all know. But the employers in Nigeria also need to sit on a round table and address or review work ethics and welfareism for the employees. Okay, so who wants to answer the question? HR Madam, please, can you answer that question for us? Or Dr. Oluyemi? Am I still audible, Doctor?
Yes. Please.
Yes, so can you answer that question?
Please recap the question again, please.
Okay, so I will recap the question. the person said this, that there's a general toxicity in the country, as in toxicity is becoming endemic in the workplace, that what can be done about it?
Okay, again, some of the things we have already alluded to.
Yes.
A functional labor law that will ensure that things around harassment, assault are well defined, and escalation procedures, such that if you don't get redress within the organization, you can get it from either the Ministry of Labor, for example, or from the law court. Because all you need is 2 or 3 scapegoats and things will just change. I won't mention it, but let me give you an example. Anybody who wants to go and do organ trafficking in UK today will have a rethink based on some recent developments in the recent. But if there is no sanction, everybody will keep doing it and everybody will keep getting away with it. But let me also counterbalance this, because I've also come to realize that in some instances, when an organization is performance driven, and I'm not talking about abusing people, shouting at people, no. I'm talking about professionalism, focusing on reasonable deadlines, quality of work, tough work. Some of our employees also see that as a toxic work environment. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Exactly.
Some employees also mistake a fast-paced environment for a toxic work environment. So if I'm late and your organization is fast-paced, I would think because you give me
you're right. Absolutely, you're right. You're right. So, I mean, some people work better in traditional organizations. And if they find themselves in non-traditional organizations where things are moving very fast, they begin to think, why is this our MD pushing us so hard like this? So also, that's why, like HR Madam said, is collaboration and understanding the kind of environment that you're working with. It goes a long way. So you're right about that.
Employees too, I know sometimes may be desperate or eager to get a job or change job, but let's do some due diligence. And one of the easiest ways is get somebody who is currently working there or who has worked there. Somebody will say, but what if I don't know anybody? It's not that difficult or deep. Go very early one day or get there before closing one day. Intentionally enter bus with somebody. Pay for their transport fare. Strike a conversation between Ikoyi and Ikorodu. You will get all the lowdown that you need. Thank you.
That was quite amusing, and I mean, there's a whole lot of truth in what you just said. So I will give room for 1 or 2 questions. Does anybody have any question? Please signify by raising your hand to any of the interviewers. Sorry, to the panelists, rather, to the speakers. You see, interview has so entered my brain now that everything I think of is about interviews. I say interviewers. I say calling everybody interviewers. Does anybody have any question? In the absence of none, I'm just going to read a few comments, and if there's anybody, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. So somebody said, I want to come back home. I want to come back home. True that is. So HR Madam, what would you say to those who want to come back home? I remember when I was saying I wanted to come back home, as in people just looked at me like maybe something was wrong with me and all that, you know. And that's the same thing anybody who says they want to come back. I'm a recruiter and I get a lot of people every day coming to my inbox. The same Japa people are saying, you know what, I want to come back home. HR Madam, what do you think about this? But before you answer that, let me also put this so that when they come back, they will prepare their minds and know that Nigeria, there's hope for Nigeria actually, but I mean, all hands are on deck right now for a new government to see what is on board. Somebody said Dr. Oluyemi dropped so much fire. Another person said, I like Dr. Oluyemi's perspective. That's right. people generally just, commended the speakers. Please put your comments in the chat box, or if you have any question and you can't ask, please put it at the chat box. So, HR Madam, what's your view?
I'm really sorry. I got a call from the hospital for my sister. I didn't get the question. Can you say it again?
No. I said somebody said they want to come back home. So I'm saying for that kind of person, what will you say? They want to come back home. And I think I know this person, and this person is a medical doctor. So if I'm correct, I might be wrong, but I want to suspect that I know somebody who is a medical doctor and is as Japa, and the person wants to come back. What would you be saying to this kind of person? Because we don't even have doctors. HR Madam, my friend's mother told my friend last year, this is on a lighter note, told my friend last year that she wants to relocate. This is a woman in her 70s. Mama wants to Japa. Please, what do you think people, all those countries, like
same as my mom. My mom is going to be 80 next year, and she wants to Japa. She's tired.
She wants to Japa. And why did she want to Japa? She said, what if I'm sick? Who will take care of me? That I learned that there's no doctor in Nigeria again. So you can imagine that kind of thing. And every time I remember that day, I would all laugh. I'm like, an old woman like this, she wants to Japa. That thing is very true. Even my aged mothers too, she wants to Japa. So if the old people want to Japa, who will be there in Nigeria again now?
Okay, I mean, for the person who wants to come back, I mean, I went to school abroad and I came back to Nigeria. I think like Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun said, the concept of Japa is not new. The concept of reverse migration is also not new. I mean, my dad schooled and lived in the UK, and he came back to Nigeria after 9 years. So it's like different cycles and at different times, some people are going, some people are coming back, that sort of thing. So, and I think that there are opportunities in Nigeria. That person that is, I mean, we're not sure, is a medical doctor and wants to come back to Nigeria. I mean, they can come back and work with the government. They can even come back and set up their own private practice. I have a friend who actually did that. And at the moment, she still does locum in the UK, but she has a family clinic. She has a practice that caters, they do family medicine or something like that, located in Ikoyi. And you do have, I mean, there's another lady, I forget her name now, who is she's a doctor of old people. So she just opened a geriatric hospital in VI. So, I mean, from time to time, you do have people coming back to Nigeria. And we live in a world that is very fluid. So like I said, they might even do that in Nigeria and still be working in the UK. My mom's friend's daughter, who is a doctor, she's an oncologist. So she has 3 oncology clinics in the US. She still goes to the UK to locum from time to time. So we live in a world that is, there's talent, what's flexibility in terms of how many people you can work at the same time. So I think if you want to go for it, please do go for it. There are many opportunities available for you.
Thank you so much. What an insightful evening. What a powerful, thought-provoking, almost 2 hours that we've had. And it's been such an amazing time. I would like to thank all the speakers. I would like to thank all the participants that are listening wherever they are. It's been amazing. And, thank you so much for putting thoughts to it. In closing, final words from the speakers. Of course, ladies first. HR Madam, what are your final words? 1 minute.
Yeah,
1
so
minute,
I
please.
mean, my final words, I think that the world is your oyster. So whether you want to japa for a season and come back, go for it. I tell people, actually, I think we need it. We need to broaden our horizon. We need to learn other cultures, be exposed to other people's ways of life. And we need to be able to borrow from those things and bring it back to Nigeria to help us. So do whatever works for you, whether it's for economic reason, for security reason, or you're just bored and you just want a change of environment. I think I'm getting to the point where I'm telling myself I'm bored and I want to leave Nigeria. I can do it for a season and come back to Nigeria. The world has changed so much and has given accommodations for things like that. So, I mean, do it. But while you are here, I mean, be present at work, do what you are meant to do, be productive and add value. Because in any case, if you move abroad, you see that value that you don't want to add in Nigeria, you will add it because nobody gives you free money. Nobody gives you free money abroad. Nobody gives you free money abroad, so that sort of thing. But yeah, so that will be it for me. And I don't think that as employers, we should fret. At some point, it's going to pay off. By the time people start coming back to Nigeria, you have quality,
Good quality
well-rounded,
employees to work with you, quality talents to work for you. Absolutely. You're right. Thank you so much, HR Madam. Somebody said, I like the way HR Madam speaks. I like her voice. Well done, and thanks to all the speakers.
This voice, I think I should start monetizing the.
Are you not
monetizing the voice?
Singer? You're an orchestral singer now. Your CV speaks for you. And
I think someone is raising their hand.
What did he say?
Somebody is raising their hand.
Okay, the person can go ahead and speak. Temitope Shibanjo, please go ahead and speak.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm so glad to be in this session. In fact, I've even changed my mindset towards this Japa of the thing. I've come to see the whole thing in a new dimension. But currently, we all know, and it has been said earlier that the current state of the economy is not encouraging a lot of people to focus, to also have what was it called, an optimistic mind that things will still be better in the country. But even with the influx of people leaving the country, there are still some people that are in Nigeria. But these same employers are still not thinking of, okay, fine, the government is bad, but we as a person, as an employer, what are we trying to do? Is there a situation whereby there's an association of all employers in Nigeria to have to sit on a round table and discuss this issue? How can they contribute towards the development, towards the goal of Nigeria? Although, yes, they provide a job for everybody to come and work, but what efforts are they also putting to ensure that this same set of people are being retained? They are well fed, they are well catered for. Currently, as I'm speaking, I still have a lot of people I work in a bank, in one of the banks in Nigeria, but I have a lot of people that want to leave. And HR in my company is already having an idea that a lot of people still want to leave. And it's a time for us to even get our bonus, as in the profit sharing. They're still holding it because they want a lot of people to submit their CV. People that left last year, they worked for 1 year and they are supposed to get the benefits of that 1 year that they worked, because they must have brought, at least, I'm a salesperson, and I've been given a target to bring in money to the bank, and at the same time to make certain profits for the bank. If I have done my work for that last year and I resign January, why do you think I'm not entitled to that profit that you want to share? That you're still waiting for some people to submit their resignation letter before you can pay people their PS. So it means that it's already in everybody in Nigeria. We are just so corrupt. Our mind is so bad. So bad. Things that you know that, this particular thing, this person is entitled to it. So why do you want to audit? Why do you want to say because the person is leaving, the person is not entitled to it again?
Okay,
I'm so
thank you
sorry. I just
very
have
much.
to pour out my mind. They are still not,
Yeah,
employers
that's
still
fine.
are not helping. They still have a lot of work to do. Thank you very much, everybody.
You're welcome. So who can is it HR madam or doctor? What do you say to this question? What is the way forward? Where she's not talking about something all of us are not aware of, but let me first correct Temitope, that is not a general thing. There are honorable employers in Nigeria. They are straightforward, good employers in Nigeria. And I can tell you for that, all of us are not corrupt. I, for one, I am not corrupt. And I'm sure that the people that are brought here to this place are not corrupt people. And I can even tell you, you yourself, I don't think you're a corrupt person. So, but I can understand the magnitude of what we're facing, because you see a lot, and even seemingly institutions that you think should have everything featured together are involved in some of all these unhealthy work practices. You will begin to wonder and say, oh, if a bank, and it's not even a microfinance bank, is involved in this kind of thing, because they're saying, oh, people will japa, so let's not pay people. What's the way forward? HR madam, please help us. Doctor, please help us quickly.
Okay, let me say first and foremost, thank you so much, Temitope Oshibajo. I appreciate the fact that you parad. I don't have the English word for para. Some people will say rant, but para is more weightier than rant. I could feel your energy, I could feel your passion, and I empathize with you. I hope that just talking to us tonight will actually even make you feel better, irrespective of what we say as a response or what we don't say. Because sometimes just listening can be therapeutic in itself. But let me say this, and I'm not trying to hold forth for the bank or any other bank. You know, there are certain benefits we get in some organization. The truth is there are policies guiding these benefits. Just because we are the recipient of the disbursement does not mean that we know the policy or process. Now, certain organizations, things like bonus, profit sharing, they actually use it as a retention policy.
Yes.
And that's why they don't pay it, for example, on the last day of the accrual year. That's one. Two, they also cannot pay it on the last day of the accrual year if, for example, it's a PLC. They still need to get the external auditors to review and certify that all the accounts as it should be. And they need to go to the AGM, get board approvals, SEC approvals, and the likes. Some of these things take time. So you may be paid, for example, 2022 bonus in some instances.
In 2023.
Okay. Then sometimes too, some organizations stagger the payment of this bonus intentionally. Why? Part of the reason they instituted it is for retention. So what happens is if you have worked for 15 years, at least the first 13 years, you will have been getting all the bonuses, but there will be 1 year that you will leave, that you will probably not get, because the policy will also state that at the point of disbursement of the bonus, it is only current staff that will earn it. Meanwhile, it's not like salary. If you work for a month and you leave, you have worked for that salary, they will pay you that. But this is now a benefit that has terms and conditions. That's why I said, if you have access to the policy that was probably signed 8 years ago, they will have stated it. So it's not like they are cheating you. Okay, but maybe because they've been paid it at a particular time, you just take it for granted. I'm not saying you've not earned it. I'm not saying your team and your colleagues don't deserve it, but
there could be intricacies around the payment of such. That's what you're saying in essence. And there are companies who have share and stock options and bonuses and all of those things Again, I like referring to my mentor. I remember my mentor saying that one of the companies he had worked for at the time, they had a policy about even good leavers and bad leavers. If you leave the company abruptly and leave the company in the cold so that you just give them with immediate effect, you might lose a lot of some monies that you have in place. And I have companies, again, that I'm aware of, that they have all this kind of benefits, that they use it not only as retention, but also for behavioral purposes, such that when people are leaving, they live well. If you look at it, let's flip it to the side of the employers. There are people who have left organization and left the organization in the cold, or destroyed things in the organization, knowing fully well that, I'm just going. They burn bridges. So organizations put those things there. By the time you think of, I know a multinational company in Nigeria that has it's not a pension, no, they have a scheme, and you contribute to that scheme. And when you contribute to that scheme, they also contribute much more. They contribute 3 times more. You contribute a percentage and they give you 3 times more of what you have contributed. When you are going, you can lose it. And the reason why you can lose it is if you leave as a bad leaver, whether you commit fraud or you do something, they only give you that money at your exit. You must have done everything, your final, whatever, and you must not be dismissed, summarily dismissed, before you can earn that money. So to protest what Dr. Adeosun has said, there are intricacies like that, but at the same time, we're not saying that we're encouraging organizations not to do the right things. We also have some very manipulative organizations that they just don't have integrity. They don't live by their values. They speak with their feet. They do something and do something else. There are also those kind of organizations too, as well. And remember what Doctor said that cracked me up about saying, research the organization before you go there. Research and know about those organizations. And I would also like to add that it is not the size of organizations that make them what they are. It is the people, it is the culture, it is the leadership. This toxicity we're talking about, this is because we were just like, because they say they want to Japa. Go and hear about people in Canada, share their story. Go and hear about people in London, share their story. Hear about people in Dubai, share their story. The same thing is obtainable everywhere. People are people. Organizations are organizations. It's only people that are deliberate. Healthy and unhealthy workplace culture exists everywhere. It is only people that are deliberate to make an impact that will go very far. Thank you very much for that. Again, I think Doctor should just give his last words. What are your final words to this gathering?
Okay, so my closing remarks are as follows. First and foremost, if you go to the airports, Lagos, Abuja, the international airports, especially at the arrival lounge, you will also see inflow of foreigners coming to this same Nigeria. They may be Chinese, they may be Indians, they may be, but people still see this place as a melting point of some sort, and there is value to be extracted. That's the first bullet point. The second bullet point is from late Archbishop Benson Idahosa, a slogan he used to say that a lizard in Nigeria will not become an alligator in America. In other words, is what the bird carries consumes that we use to fly. Okay, this is very important. And my final and landing points will be, please note that irrespective of whether you are here or there, you must develop your skills at a global level of relevance. Your competition is not that person on Broad Street or in Marina. Your competition is in Mumbai. Your competition is in Pakistan. Your competition is in Singapore, Malaysia, is in Tokyo. So ultimately, develop your skills, capacities, competencies, capabilities to a global level. Wherever you are, they will seek you out with problems and with opportunities and with rewards. If I asked today, where is Davido based? Is he based in Nigeria? Where is Tiwa Savage based? You must
and they relocated from abroad to Nigeria.
Nigeria, Tiwa Savage, they came back.
And it was when they came to Nigeria, like the Nigerian terminology, they blew when they came to Nigeria.
They blossomed. So become so good that even if you decide to relocate to Lome, because of the competence, people will be calling you, doing Zoom meeting, become so good that United Nations will need your services. African Development Bank would need your services. World WHO would need your services. One person I always have in mind, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She's a global citizen. So where she can work from anywhere right now. So let's ensure that our impact ends up being global. Thank you for joining tonight. And my profound respect to our convener for today, Madam Abolaji Shote, and my distinguished panelists. HR Madam, it's a privilege to meet you on this platform. And engineer, thank you also. Privilege, looking forward to catching up with you physically and on other similar platforms one of these days. We're available to collaborate. Thank you so much and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You deserve an
everyone.
applause. Thank you so much. HR Madam,
Yes,
you want to respond to him?
Yes. Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Adeosun. We see all that you are doing, how you are bringing so much value to the HR community. We say well done and keep up the good work. And also thank you to the other panelists. Sorry, the name just flew off my head now. Engineer
Tunde Jimo.
Yeah, Engineer Tunde Jimo. Thank you for being part of this. And I'm happy, Madam Bolaji Shote, thank you for inviting me to be part of this. I look forward to more collaborations in the future.
Wow, it's been amazing. You blew my mind. And I'm sure you blew the minds of other people. Thank you for taking our time to be here this evening. God bless you. Okay, for me, it will be what an insightful and engaging evening. I actually literally am getting goosebumps thinking about all of these things because these are some of the things I've discussed with people whom I've had opportunities to share with, and it coming from other people just buttresses that point today with all that we've discussed. If you're in Nigeria, you're not less of a human being. Nothing is wrong with you. Everybody's life and path, you know, like HR Madam said, have options, be able to say, I want to do this and I want to do that. And, you know, she talked on a lot of things, even about myself. Last year, I got up and I said, you know what? I want a new experience. I took a risk. I wanted to do something different. And when I did it and I felt, oh, you know what, you now have the experience, I took another experience again. Tomorrow, I might take another experience again. And that's how life should be. Most importantly, as a worker, you should get to a point where you live life on your own terms. I don't want to be tied down by another person, typically say another person. I want to be able to do what I want to do, what I enjoy, and have options to say, okay, if I don't want to go this way, tomorrow, can I go that way and all of that? And, you know, life is evolving. One of my mantras in life is that change is the only constant thing in life. My pastor said this in one of the sermons, and he said this, and this is what he said, life will so much change, and a time will come. We will look at people and we'll be saying, why were people queuing at embassy to collect visa? Because people will now, the world will get to that point where it's an open door. You can go anywhere, be anything. You can go do whatever you want to do. But in the words of Dr. Adeosun, it is value, it is the impact that you can make. And then again, let us not look at our country. Nigeria is not the worst of all countries, trust me. For those of us who have gone outside and have been to, a few places, and people like HR Madam, she's a world-acclaimed traveler. She has been to many places. At the end of the day, There's no El Dorado anywhere. It's about value, it's about excellence. A professional is not a subjective word. A professional in Nigeria will be a professional in Canada, will be a professional anywhere else. It is the value that you can add. And like he said, a lizard, a lion is a lion, a lizard is a lizard. So don't think, have the right values. Take your work seriously, look for what you enjoy and be able to do it passionately, and the world will be your stage. It might not happen for you immediately. You might be seeing HR Mada, you're seeing Dr. Adeosu, you're seeing Engineer Jimo, you're seeing myself, and you're wondering, oh, all these people that are there, we all have a story. We all started from somewhere, and we're all still on a journey. There are people that, I mean, they've gone farther. Okonjo Iweala, who says one day I might not be the next Okonjo Iweala, you know, working for a top global organization or something. It's all a journey, and you must embrace that journey. But in whatever you do, please, and I leave you with this, ensure that you're adding value. Ensure you're making impact, such that wherever you work, whoever you work, and whatever you do, once you want to close that door, you look back with pride, and you look forward with excitement that, oh, I can do something else. I've done A, B, C, D, and I can do X, Y, Z. With that, like she said, the world is your stage. You can go anywhere. You can be a global citizen, and nothing can stop you. Your limitations are in your mind. So go out there. Happy Workers' Day, everyone, again. Go out there, be your best, and change your world. With that being said, thank you everyone for joining. It's been a wonderful evening. I wish we planned to do 1.5 hours, but we did 2 hours. Thank you everyone. Bye. See you some other time. God bless. Bye.